This time on Engine Masters, it is a cold-hearted, bloodthirsty, bare-fisted, brand-to-brand intake manifold shootout. Here we are on Engine Masters presented by AMSOIL, and this one is going to seem like a cliche. It's the oldest dyno test in the world, but it is information many of you are dying to know. This is a head-to-head showdown between the best of the high-performance small block Chevy dual-plane intake manifolds. So here's what I did to sort of limit the scope of this test. We're limiting to high-rise and dual-plane and air gap style. That means the kind that actually has air passages here underneath the runners on each one. Here we go. This is the Edelbrock RPM air gap intake manifold. I believe the original high-rise intake and definitely the first dual plane with air gaps underneath the runners from the aftermarket. This thing in a bare finish is $278.49 at Summit Racing. Next up, we've got the Dart version of the same intake manifold. That one is $231.70. Now, both of these intakes are made in the United States. Buddy Bar is the foundry for the Dart unit, and then we get into the Chinese stuff over here. This one is from a company that's called Professional Products, and this is the cheapest intake that we've got. It's $181.99, and then the Wyand intake manifold is $246.95. Now, in shopping around, I discovered that there are other intakes on the market, but really they're just different rebrands of these same intakes. You can buy both the Dart and the Wyand under different branding, but these are the four that basically make up the bulk of the marketplace. Now, let's look at some of the external features. They all share some things, like they all have coil mounting brackets in the back. They all have dual distributor hold down, so you can put your hold down tab on either side that you want. 3 of these have 4 corner cooling possibilities. The Edelbrock has half-inch pipe plug at the front and a 3/8 at the back, as does the Dart unit. The Professional Products one has half-inch ports front and rear, which I actually prefer. Meanwhile, there's the Wyand that only has the front ports and none at all in the back. So if you look at the water crossover here at the front, the Wyand is much lower, and that can be beneficial just if you have a hood clearance problem or carburetor, anything like that. Speaking of carburetor, there is a vacuum port in every single one of these, but look what happens if you've got like a typical Holley or QFT or Demon carburetor. It completely obliterates that port. However, over here on the Wyand, you can actually get access to that port. So that's appearance, but what about internal functionality? This is the type of thing that might affect the horsepower on them. First of all, they all have the planes stacked the same way, meaning the right side is the high plane, the low side is the left plane. The plenums are all divided, but if you look at the divider wall in each of these, there is a notch in the Edelbrock, the Dart, and the Pro products. The Wyand is a solid plenum divider. That notch tends to like share power pulses side by side in the engine, and it makes the plenum seem a little bit bigger. However, look how the Wyand on the right-hand side has this kick out on the side of the plenum that makes the top level plenum even bigger than it would be on these other designs. Now, if you look down into the floors of each one of these, the Edelbrock has a fine grained line pattern in it. The Dart is much more coarse. There is nothing in the Pro products. It is absolutely smooth, whereas the Wyand has a waffle pattern on the floor of the plenum. We also started looking at like minute design changes as far as runner lengths and sizes and shapes and stuff until we realized, you know what? We have no idea what we're talking about until we actually bolt this thing on the dyno and find out what makes the most power, which is what we're about to do with this. This is our old standby, a 372 cubic inch small block Chevy with AFR heads. It's got a 242 at 50 hydraulic roller cam in it. This thing will run to 7,000 RPM. It'll make more than 500 horsepower, and we figured that it would tax the airflow demands for any of these intake manifolds. In every case, with every manifold, we were gonna run it with this 750 CFM double pumper Holley XP carburetor. But first, Dulcich is gonna roll this thing in there, AMSOIL it up, install an intake manifold, and then we can start making power.
Here it is, my little buddy, the 372 Gladiator small block Chevy. Now this thing has survived hundreds of dyno pulls. I've been testing with this engine for at least 10 years, and part of it is right here. Pow! The AMSOIL 2050 Z-Rod. I like the 2050. It's a nice high viscosity oil, but better yet, it's got a lot of additives that are anti-corrosive, anti-rust, and lets this thing sit for months on end until we need it the very next time. So, just gonna top her up and we'll be ready to go. Drink up, baby.
All right, ready to go? Are you good?
I'm great.
You all spiffed up?
I'm all happy because of the heartwarming poodle story.
Brule sleeps with his poodle.
Sharing a little too much information, apparently.
Okay, dudes, I guess we're kicking it off with our go-to manifold, the Edelbrock Performer RPM air gap. I kind of wanted to run this last to build up to it, but I guess we're gonna find out, like, this is our baseline. Can anything else even get close?
Well, I respect that manifold because it was pretty much the original intake of that kind of configuration.
The original RPM non-air gap was, yeah.
Well, you know what's cool about this manifold is every time I've tested this manifold on kind of anything, Ford, Chevy, Mopar, big block, small block, it works.
Yeah. So on this engine, I think that we're probably taxing the limits of what you really want to put a dual plane on, though, huh?
Well, I think it's a good base for testing the manifolds.
Because it's going to tax the airflow of it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll run it to 65, 66, whatever we need to make sure that we're not leaving anything on the table as far as carryover.
Okay, Steve, once again, already has this thing tuned up, so we're going to fire it up here, get some temperature in it, and we'll have our baseline. So there's our very first test. I think pretty much as expected. We made 478 pound-feet of torque at 4,500, 507 horsepower at 6,400.
That's a nice curve.
Really? This bugs me a little bit.
Part of this might be because it's a 242, 248 camshaft.
Yeah,
it's
it's a
going
big
to be a
cam.
little bit down at 3,000, but this isn't that unusual in my opinion.
I like looking at it from about peak torque and the way it rolls over at the top at peak horsepower. Yeah, no indication of valve train distress or anything like that. It's just a nice curve.
The other thing that we're gonna do in this test is average the power between 3,500 and 6,800 RPM. Because if one manifold makes more of a difference down here and less up there, does some sort of a trade-off, it'll give you more of an idea of what it does throughout the power curve. So the average for the Edelbrock air gap is 447.4 pound-feet of torque and 436.9 horsepower. And I think it's as simple as that. We get to go put on a different intake.
Yeah, we've got it set up with a crank trigger and all that stuff, so it should make the swaps pretty easy. And that was the reason we did the crank trigger. Is because you know how you can have a distributor a half a degree off, 1 degree off, trying to replace it, and we just didn't want that to skew the data because that could change the whole thing by 3 or 4 or 5 numbers.
Right, and that's probably how tight these manifolds are gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna be close.
With each other.
So we've got oil temp, water temp, air hat. You know, we really tried to make it where there's not a lot of variables here.
All right, let's go pick what we're gonna bolt on there next.
Okay. Next up is going to be our Dart intake manifold. It's very similar to the Edelbrock we just tested, so I'm expecting pretty similar performance. I really don't know. That's what we're going to find out here on the dyno. I'm going to slap this on. Steve Brulet's got this gooped up. That's a BAM.
So this is a 9-inch Superflow air hat. Basically what it is a honeycomb screen to direct the air over a propeller. And then it basically has a little, I'm not gonna call it a sensor necessarily, but a little generator. And it creates voltage, and then that voltage is calibrated into CFM.
It's just great
so-
being able to see the actual air the engine's taking in. And
Yeah,
this
we're able
thing-
to watch airflow. We can check it in cubic feet per minute. It's just more pieces to the puzzle that lets us look at more stuff and figure more things out.
One of the things you might notice about our particular setup on this engine is right here, the crank trigger, and the timing is taken care of here. This wheel has 4 flying magnets embedded in the wheel, and there's a magnetic pickup unit here that sends a signal to the ignition to trigger it. And since that's all self-contained here at the front of the engine, we're not going to disturb the timing whatsoever throughout our intake manifold changes.
Wow. I evaded that manual labor entirely.
Oh man, I hope you got everything else ready.
No, I was out there looking at other manifolds. I think this one's gonna be pretty good.
Hey, that was swapped over in record time.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right, next up is gonna be that Dart SHP dual plane. I couldn't stare at it and decide if it was gonna be better or worse, so.
Manifolds are magic. You never know till
You
you
never
run
know.
them.
Except for Dulcet, she can tell.
No, on this one I was stymied.
No? You were stumped?
Yeah,
Okay.
Completely stymied. They were dead ringers, really, visually.
Yeah. AFR looked very much the same. So this is our power curve.
This is pretty much identical all the way up to 5,500.
And then it's
there's
down.
A divergence some. What we're going to do is look at the airflow.
Okay.
And then that'll
will
give
tell
us
us.
a clue.
There's more airflow, but is it more airflow because it made more power, or is it more efficient because it's distributing the fuel better?
But the brake numbers get better and the power will get better, but it doesn't necessarily move any more air because it made more power.
Copy that. Yeah, if it's an efficiency thing, it's using the same amount of air better.
Yeah,
So if it's
yeah.
using more air, then it's because the intake is flowing more
Yes,
air.
yes.
So ultimate conclusion is the air gap is actually better than the Dart.
It's about 10 CFM up there at the top.
Well, there you go. The Dart is just a little bit down from the Edelbrock air gap. Here's our final numbers: 477.5 pound-feet of torque at 4,400 RPM and 501.6 horsepower at 6,300.
So the RPM at peak is down just a little bit too.
Because of lack of
100
airflow.
because of lack of airflow, yeah. Okay, we looked at that average, and the Dart made 446.2 pound-feet and 434.3 horsepower, really down just a couple of numbers from the Edelbrock. You're not going to be able to see that in the real world or feel it in the seat of your pants.
No, for all intent and purposes, they're
Very close.
And would you argue which way? If the engine was tamer than this one, let's say it's the 383 making 450 horsepower, the difference up here would be even less, I'm thinking, because it's not gonna exceed that RPM.
Yeah, that engine peaked at 58, and really you don't see any divergence until about 57.
It's only because this has more power and engine speed. It's taxing the Dart manifold a bit more, I would say.
Yeah, so under 6,000 RPM, it's even more accurate to say they run the same.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Next up is gonna be the Pro Products unit. Here comes our cheapest manifold, the Professional Products unit.
I'm practicing my manifold plonk.
You're not that good. Oh, dude, that was a fail.
That was a good plonk.
That was medium. So this intake has these little spacers that go into these oval notches right there, which let it accommodate either the old school bolt pattern like this, or what they call the TPI bolt pattern, which is tilted out a little bit at the top.
Well, that gives you interchangeability.
Yeah.
We have our manifold swapped again. This time we've got the Professional Products piece installed, so we'll see how it does. What do you think, Bradberger?
I'm terrified it's gonna be pretty good.
I think it might be, you know?
Well, we're
It'd
right
look
on
good.
temp, so we better pull it and find out.
All right.
We're trying to get both our oil temperatures and our coolant temperatures just dead on for this, just to make sure that we're as scientific as we can possibly be. Okay, I'm kind of relieved that I think it's down a little bit. I was really concerned that the cheapest Chinese manifold was also gonna make the most power, but I don't think so. Oh yeah, so it made 495 horsepower down from our best of the Edelbrock air gap, which made 507. And the torque was 472 versus 478 on the Edelbrock. So the cheapest manifold has made significantly less power all throughout the curve. As a matter of fact, look where it diverges.
Yeah,
way
it
down
starts way
here,
back
like
here.
3,900 RPM. It's worse all the way up. And I can't explain why, because the manifold looks fine, but you just never know.
Let's look at the airflow.
Okay.
That'll be kind of fun.
It always
mimics the
follows
power
the
curve.
power curve.
amazing, but not really.
No, it's not at all.
That's exactly what it's supposed to do. If it flows more air, it's supposed to make more power.
I know, and look at the RPM point where it starts diverging in airflow is about where
where the power started going and diverging.
Good. I didn't want to get the phone call from Edelbrock going, your Chinese knockoff manifold made more power. That's not possible.
Yeah, it's always hard to justify something that's cheaper.
But
it's $100 cheaper.
Ultimately, you have to let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just...
That's what happens.
But it's nice to know that the extra money went into some extra development, making sure that the manifold worked well.
Yeah, but it's not to say it's a terrible manifold. It's okay.
And again, if it's on a 450 horsepower motor or 425 horsepower motor,
it's less of a difference.
Yeah, it's, for the budget guy, it's still a great choice.
So in the end, let's go over the data. The average power is 442.1 pound-feet and 430.1 horsepower. So I think that's the most significant change that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
And this, we're looking at airflow here, but the difference in power is going to show up at the drag strip on this deal.
Yeah.
Last player, Wyand.
All
Ready?
right. Yeah. I'm here to critique your plonk. Oh.
Boom.
Oh. Actually, that was pretty good.
I know.
Well, look at you got a little spooge coming out
there.
You got to give him a little room. It was one-handed.
It was a one-hander.
No. Yeah. Degree of difficulty.
Delay knows.
I saw it.
I know. Yeah.
I feel like I'm being schooled here.
This is going to be the first intake we've tested today that does not have the divided plenum. The others have a notch in them. This one doesn't. That tends to create more signal, so the jets might pull more fuel. This could create a jetting change. This is also the only one with this kick out right here. See that they've made this side of it bigger with that. Plus it's got this notch here that's for like linkage or something.
Well, that's because the plenum on this side is way deeper than this side.
Oh, that's right. That makes sense.
So that helps even out the plenum volume. Or
it's not going to be 100%, but it makes it better.
It compensates somewhat. If you look at the bottom floor of the plenum here, you've got a crisscross waffle pattern, and what that does is it helps reintroduce any puddled fuel because the air flows through the waffles, picking up all the fuel particles. At least that's the theory.
Okay, we're up with the Wyand Speed Warrior.
Got nothing.
I've given up on pretending that I can look at an intake manifold and know what it's going to do.
I guess we're supposed to run it and find out where we're at.
Wow. What we're looking at here is the Performer RPM Edelbrock in red and this Wyand unit's in black and basically identical.
Almost an overlay.
Yeah, they're doing this.
Yeah.
Kind of by a horsepower or a pound-foot or two all the way up.
It's the same thing. And that center divider split, it didn't care. Air fuel's, arguably more stable with this intake than with the Edelbrock.
Yeah, and it is a little nicer, flatter curve. And we both remember milling the center out of one to try and take care of some distribution stuff, and it seemed to help in that. This manifold doesn't seem to have that issue pulling it down low either.
Yeah, which maybe it's because this has a bigger cam in it. It likes the extra signal. Could that be it?
Nah, I really don't know.
It's got that kick out in the
on the side of the plenum, that I was pointing out.
Yeah, there's some of that.
Maybe it likes it. That's a shocking result to me. I didn't think it was going to be this good.
No, and let's take a look at the airflow.
And once again, Wyand in black, Edelbrock in red.
And they
trade
doing
places.
That. Yeah. They did a really good job with what it amounts to, because that Edelbrock's not an easy manifold to live up to, let alone surpass.
Yeah. And the Wyand is actually cheaper.
Okay.
But it's also the difference between China and the American-made Edelbrock.
Well, you have to search your soul for that one, not your wallet.
Let's look at the actual horsepower peaks and averages. Our winner in torque is the Edelbrock air gap at 447.4, but this made 447.1.
We're talking about points here.
It's
That's
the same.
Just nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. And in horsepower, the Edelbrock 436.9 and the Wyand 435.6.
They're the same. The curve looks the same. The averages are the same. Everything about them looks the same.
And notice our two best manifolds brought the peak power RPM and peak torque RPM up compared to the lagger manifold.
Because of more airflow. Yeah, you're right. So they're really all pretty good, but I would declare a tie between the air gap and the Wyand.
Absolutely.
I can't even just say the Edelbrock won because it made 0.3 more horsepower.
I think going into this, we knew that we were going to be maybe looking at 2Zs, 3Zs, 4Zs potentially, and so that's why we put extra instrumentation on it, because it wasn't going to be just, oh, this is way better, this is way worse. We knew it was going to be pretty close with any of them.
You know, it's interesting, I'm going back and looking at the Dart too, and while the peak horsepower number of 501.6 is down on the Dart, if you look at the average on that one, it's also really close.
Yeah, it's within a horsepower and a pound-foot.
Pretty cool. I'm actually
Fun
happy
stuff.
now.
It's fun learning.
Once again, I was worried that the cheapest Chinese manifold was just gonna kill everything, and it didn't. It ended up on the bottom of the heap, but the heap's only this tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bottom of the mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Dolchek, let's go wrap this up.
All right.
You can pick up my pen. Okay, Dolchek, I actually got nothing. I'm counting on you. Wrap this thing up.
Me?
Yeah.
This is your job. Usually you kick it off, and I just kind of come in as the sidekick.
Oh, I'm laying back.
Well, I'll tell you what. We have a two-plane manifold, a 750 Holley carb, and we have over 500 horsepower, or close to it. Tell me if you could have done that 25 years ago.
No, AFR cylinder heads, that's why.
So really, all of these things, they all work pretty darn well. Some a little better, some a little worse, some a little more expensive, some a little cheaper, but they're all in the ballpark, man.
Here's an interesting thing. I realized that our results fell directly in line with price.
They did.
The gap in price was way bigger than the gap in power.
I'll agree.
Edelbrock was the most expensive, and it was #1 by a margin. And then came the Wyand,
The Wyand was a real sleeper in my book.
and then came the Dart, and then came the Pro products.
Actually, they're all pretty good. And perhaps if you had a little bit lower powered combination, that difference will narrow too.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so basically somebody can buy any one of these intakes that you want.
and they're all good.
Yeah, so we got nothing left to do except for... Puppy! Come here, puppies!
Come on, Lucy.
Here she comes.
Oh.
Look at that dog. What better way to finish Engine Masters than with the dog?
When
Right?
you've got nothing else, you go to the dog.
That's it. See you next time here on Engine Masters. Pet that puppy.
I like that puppy.
No, that's always a challenge.
Until this blows up.
Don't jinx it,
Do not frickin' say that. What is wrong with you? You crazy?